In this tech therapy session, we are dealing with the death of our classic voice assistants and the invasion of AI Slop. We're also going to talk about what AI do we really use in our gadgets, but don't worry, it's going to end on a happy note. We're going to talk about tech in entertainment and how it helps us forget about the real world.
I'm Scott Stein.
I'm Bridget Carey. Let's talk about our tech feelings. So big news when it comes to the assistants that we know. Google Assistant is going to go away. Google announced that it's going to be taken over by Gemini by sometime soon. We don't have an exact date yet. There's no date for the death, but most mobile devices will no longer have the Google Assistant that we used to know.
It's not even a death. It's a transformation into a new evolutionary form of AI.
Well, it's like, even if you didn't want it, guess what? AIs are coming. It's just here.
It's evolving, whether you like it or not. I mean, that's a trend that is going to continue. This is like the theme of the Gen AI era that we have right now is, guess what? It's changing and you don't have a choice and you're going to love it. You're going to love all these new things that come in. That's true for Gemini. That's true, I think, for what's going on with Alexa. And it probably will be true for whatever Apple will be figuring out with Apple Intelligence some year.
Let's talk about what Alexa's doing. So by the end of March or so, there's a change. If you have an Alexa smart speaker, you can no longer opt out of having whatever you say to it not go to the cloud. So like, really, even if they're still going to call it Alexa, I'm sorry for waking up everyone's speakers all of a sudden, but really the name remains the same. But now how you think about your privacy is changing. And now, will people mind that much? I'm not sure, but we're all now getting kind of force fed that they are going to change. They're going to respond differently.
Yeah. And we already pretty much have a way of using them in our daily lives. Like when you call out, hey, Alexa, which probably just set off the stuff in your home again, that's going to, you have an idea of what you're going to be doing probably at this point. And when it responds to you, we know when we don't want any of that. There's plenty of intrusive moments already that we are quick to silence, and we customize for just what we want to turn on what we need or do that stuff. Now, as far as the stuff where keeping it in the cloud versus keeping it locally, it already felt super fuzzy with that. I feel like there are all these settings and changes over time. The certain Alexa devices could do local processing, but there's still stuff at the back end that might still connect to the cloud. Now it's all going to go to the cloud. But what I don't understand is why you can't still do on-device processing. But I get that for Gen AI stuff, it's not powerful enough for that, or they just like it to live on the cloud as well, because then they've got more data about you, because all of this future AI agent assistant stuff wants to know more and more about you. It is more personalized with more little bits and pieces that you're going to really want to keep in there, according to the plan of what these things are, whether it's your preferences or the things that you just talked about yesterday or, anything else that it's training on.
Well, I'm being trained too in how I talk to them, right? So like, I actually have a bunch of home pods in my house and I use my voice commands to turn on my lights and such. But how they're going to start responding differently when there's more AI woven into it. I mean, I'm not having conversations with AI. I don't know if folks are doing that a lot, but that's not how I want to interact. I want a result very quickly. And people are going to be losing their Google Assistant, right? And now they're going to start seeing that maybe that Gemini is going to answer differently or wants a different phrasing of a prompt. And I think we're now going to be retraining ourselves in how we interact. And it's going to be a little annoying.
Yeah. And the way it already tries to guess what I want is terrible. So I don't like that. Will I like the plus version, and some of the Gen AI suggestions down the road? I mean, I'm not optimistic about that, because I feel like to this point, everything I play with Gen AI is exploratory, kind of interesting as a creative experiment, but I find that it flies in very clear patterns, or gets frustratingly like not on target for what I want.
I just recently talked about all this drama that's surrounded the Apple Siri and the delays with that smarter Siri next evolution. A lot of people were commenting on that video. A lot of passionate people, just really angry about, being sold something that didn't come out yet. But it showed me that, like, people in general have a lot of feelings about AI. They also said that I should be trying Gemini more. So I'm going to take them up on it. I'm going to start trying Gemini
Yeah.
more and really get a better feel of all the assistants. But I just think we don't have a lot of room in our lives anymore to put up with annoyances. And if there's more annoyances in our constant phone life of trying to use these right away, people are just going to dismiss it and say, I want it off.
Yeah, and for Gemini, you won't have a choice there either because Assistant's going away, and Gemini is the assistant that will be in your life for everything. And we're still kind of seeing how that's all going to play out. But I mean, Meta's AI is more intrusive in Facebook and in other areas around Meta's apps, and Apple is toying with that right now with Apple Intelligence. It's like a lot of little tools, but they do get intrusive already in terms of the message summaries and some of those suggestions that I find I actually want to turn off.
Yeah, the really weird summaries that make you go, wait, is this helping me be faster, or am I taking more time now to click it to see what was it summarizing? So let's get into what we're really using AI on our gadgets for.
Not very much, honestly. Not a lot. And what am I playing? Like, I use AI to play and to explore and to test. And there I kind of feel like at the frontier there's interesting stuff. I've tried doing creative writing with AI or exploring how it veers off and how I re-steer it. I wrote like a play about that and tried to think about that in a kind of a interesting way.
Mhm.
Those Meta AI glasses, the Ray-Bans, I think are a great example for me of where I'm not using it because and this is what I've said. We had all those AI gadgets last year, which were mostly terrible, and things like the Humane AI Pen and the Rabbit R1. But the Ray Bans are really clever. They succeeded as basic devices in the sense that they're camera, microphone enabled. They're like AirPods plus cameras, or earbuds plus cameras, and you could just use them as that. But then there's a bonus that they do AI. They can see what you're seeing. They can have a live AI assistant function. And I find that stuff just feels really absurd most of the time.
Wait,
Like
wait, it's absurd to talk to yourself into your glasses. No, tell me more. I didn't expect you to say
really,
it's
Scott.
absurd to talk to the air and have your glasses talk
Yeah.
back.
Well, it's that, like, it's the movie Her and it's all that stuff. And you think, oh, I'm going to have something help me. And it does, it knows what I'm seeing, but it mostly just, like I've said before, it mostly just kind of describes that back to me, which I already know that.
So you ask it, like, what am I looking at?
Yes, which so it becomes this existential play where you're just kind of going, what is that in front of me? And oh, that looks like a wooden table, and there's a yellow device. It could be a computer that's on it. But then if you ask more specific questions, there are guardrails because at the moment, it's not allowed to give you specific health recommendations. It's not allowed to, or it says it's not allowed to do things like violate elements of privacy. Like for now, that's things like trying to identify people. Why can't you describe people?
I'm not able to describe people because it's not appropriate or respectful to comment on individuals' appearances or characteristics.
Or even locations of certain residences or like a car. But it's very fuzzy. Sometimes it will, and then sometimes it won't. But then I could go up to a tree and I could say, what type of tree is this? And it will tell me. And I don't know if it's right. I think
Because it's confident, but is it right?
That's an acacia. Okay. That sounds good. I will double check that sometime. But that's the thing is you have to kind of that's Gen AI now when you use it is that it'll confidently give you information that could have all sorts of issues with it. And if you have it on your face, it's going to do that same thing. But I think the possibilities there for assistance, for assistive uses to help see things that you may not be able to see, to hear things like already happening with earbuds that you may not be able to hear. There is a lot of interesting possibility, but right now it's kind of something where I'm not using it all that much. And so I just use them as cameras and headphones. And that's kind of the same way I deal with, well, it's certainly the way I deal with Siri, because I use it mainly to set timers and do very basic things. Because if I want to do anything more complicated, I'm going to fiddle around with my phone or my iPad or anything else and do it myself. Because I don't trust that it's going to take care of this for me in a way that's really going to save time. It's like a bad assistant.
It hasn't proven itself to save the time because you still think you might have to go in and tweak it anyways, right?
Yeah.
Like I was going to ask, what exactly are you using on Apple Intelligence? Because for me, I do a lot of things with voice when I'm in a hurry. I'll hold, the button down and say, "Hey Siri, send a text to so and so, saying the following,"
Yeah.
or set a timer. And I noticed that while it glows in its AI, outside rim, I feel like it's slower. I don't want to put a tinfoil hat on all the time. I'm like, is it the AI that's making it slower to send this text message now? But clearly, there's more thinking going on than there maybe used to be. And
Yeah.
so I go, okay, I'm not rewriting text because I'm a writer. So I like having the control there. But I wonder what you're using it for. If you find yourself using it, I do summarize things still, and it's gotten a little better, I think, but it's still a strange experiment.
I don't use photo editing AI really, and I know it's gotten pretty interesting, but I kind of just keep photos the way I shot them. I like them to be what they are, and I don't do a lot of retouching of things, so that's not something I tend to get into too much. And I use it. I mean, I played around with creating weirdo emoji things that nobody else is going to recognize,
But it's
but
humor, right? It's fun. I like
it's
the
humor.
emoji thing too for like, being silly. I've had people send me AI images to be silly in chat, almost like
Yeah,
making
but
your own private memes, but
But it's like, yeah, it's like like Animoji. Like I feel like I'm using it a bit, and I'll never use it again.
I have not used Animojis since it came
Remember
out.
Animoji? It's still around. Yeah, it's like you could. That's a blast from the past. Yeah, I don't use it for any of the writing tools because I would never even need to do that, and it seems absurd. I guess breaking things down into bullet points or summarizing is intriguing, but I just find that I'm not doing it, and I am impressed when summaries are available for really long things. And I think AI is interesting for finding patterns in a lot of stuff that you might be digesting, but I'm not in a world where I'm doing that much. And if I'm doing that, I'm doing the digesting. So for me, it's like a tool that I'm not, and for coding, which Apple Intelligence doesn't even get into, and people talk about using coding or vibe coding or what it was called, like where you sort of will be generating code. That's interesting. I feel like that's an interesting future for AI. But when am I coding something? Like what is that? When is that going to become part of my life?
One thing you're reviewing now is a new device that has no AI.
This has no AI, and I really kind of love it.
This is the basic iPad that just
Yeah,
came out.
this is the 11th gen iPad, which it is. I like cheap iPads. We were talking about this before. Don't spend a lot for an iPad if you can help it. Why? I mean, this is like $349. It's got enough storage, but they deliberately left out a processor capable of doing Apple Intelligence, which feels kind of spiteful to that low end. I think that's a little like you're gonna have to pay to upgrade incentive.
But there are people who just don't need it, or like maybe they use the iPad in their business or for school or something
It's
like
true.
basic. I'm not saying school couldn't get use out of AI, but I mean, like if you're looking for a cheaper tool,
Could have just gone to the A17, just go one little chip bump, like the iPad Mini has it. It's like so close, and they just said, nah. But I do love that I don't have to deactivate Apple Intelligence. It already did it for me. It's already not there because mostly I'm not using it. But what's gonna suck for this down the road is that all of iPad OS is probably gonna lean more on AI features, and then all those cool new things that are in the next iPad OS, they're gonna say, sorry, this one's not part of it. So it's definitely not part of whatever cool future Apple's going to potentially be cooking up. But I'm really fine with that at the moment because it's not something I just find it's more intrusive and random than it is anything. I have enough apps and enough other things in my life. And if I want to use AI, I can invoke AI in an app that has AI. And then that's it.
well, it comes in a cool color. So at least our
It
future gadgets are colorful.
and it's yellow or it's got other colors, so it's great. And it's got all the basic stuff you need. Like it's fine. And then if you go the other route, then you're paying up to like double that price with accessories and things.
I'm with you. Sometimes you just want a tool that doesn't have extra things that you feel like you're being experimented on right now, because that's how it all comes together, right? Learn to talk to these things in new ways, learn how they talk back to you. Do we really feel like that's making our life any faster?
Well, and going all the way back to the thing that we were talking about before with on-device processing, sure, Gen AI can't do it, but why can't a lot of these things do basic AI stuff on device? Like Apple was talking about that in the past, but now they're doing some more stuff in the cloud. And why can't some of that basic stuff just happen locally? And then you don't have to deal with that whole new spicy Gen AI layer that you might not want to be part of.
I don't know exactly where that line is drawn on what is being done in the cloud either with Apple and what is on device. Sometimes it feels like, I guess if it's a little bit of text, it's on device, but how much am I pushing it? You don't get some pop-up warning telling you, okay, you did a lot here. This is going to the black box in the cloud. And I know Apple says it's private, but there's trust issues. And as everyone has a weird interaction with AI, it breaks down our trust issues.
Yeah, AI is all over the place, and it's also pretty sloppy. And speaking of sloppy, AI Slop. AI Slop, actually, I like a little bit of AI Slop once in a while, I will say.
Scott, what got you into the AI Slop show? Why are we in this path right now?
Why am I in the AI Slop show? I like a little bit of AI Slop in my life, just a little bit of weirdness, but you know, there's Facebook, for instance, which thinks I like it a whole lot, all the time, in every single real suggestion that it tries to just shove in my face.
You're talking
every
about
single
those
day.
like weird videos that just morph into other things.
Yes, AI Slop meaning this stuff that is AI generated, looks weird, it's kind of hallucinogenic, trippy, melted, you know, art, videos, a lot of video clips. You know, I think at the first time you see it, you could go, oh, that's interesting, that's trippy, psychedelic. And then they all kind of start feeling like they're the same thing. And reels, which I don't even want to look at a reel generally ever, but when you're on Facebook, you know, sooner or later when you're scrolling, it's suggesting reels to you, those little video clips that are playing there. And I'll find that lately, at least 50% of those are AI Slop. They are just incomprehensible, you know, seal becomes a child, flying pineapple snake, you know, whatever, melting crab person. And then also sometimes someone reacts to it, which I think every single time people do that, I think they think it's fun, like they just came up with that. So then it's like terrible AI Slop followed by terrible reaction. But that whole thing, that whole whatever gets played out over and over and over on my reels that I can't, and maybe because I interacted with one of them.
That's
now
what I was gonna say.
I'm in a hole.
As soon as you look at it, the algorithm's like, let me feed you more of this.
Right.
And so
Slop, Scott, slop.
so
Right.
well, how many people are in the same boat where like you eventually just don't even care to maybe log on? Why don't they want to? Why are they okay with it? Because it will make people not want to be online, you would think, or at least they want people. Gosh, I just think we'll want to crave real humans if this is what you're getting fed, but then you also don't want to be on the network anymore if this is what you're being fed.
Yeah, and also this gets us something else which we continually run into with AI, and I think we're going to run into even more. Stop trying to predict me. Stop trying to. I mean, AI does this all the time. We think you're going to like this. We know you'll like this. This is something you're interested in, and I am pretty sick of it because while it works a good chunk of the time, I like to also discover other things in my life. I don't need it to keep feeding me more of that in all senses of life, but especially when it comes to AI Slop. You know, just I've had enough. I had enough of that taste. It was a bad taste, and we can move on. So I did click on it a couple of times, but then
that's the problem.
Don't do that. Like I don't want that whole system to feel like that. I know that's the problem. Is that it feeds it, and a lot of these things are meant to create a sense of shock, engagement, and confusion. And the first little hint of a clip is sort of enticingly bizarre, and then you find out the rest. But a lot of these clips you can see are just garbagey, and they don't really have any meaning. That's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I don't know if this stuff ever had meaning, but it's like watching the same special effect from a movie done a million different ways. And I've seen that Death Star blow up already. You know, like I've seen the melting seal bat creature. They're all like horror things.
So you think people will get tired of it? It'll just stop? I worry the other way. Like I don't scroll on reels that much, so I'm not getting as much slop. But when I'm on TikTok just this week, I saw something that was AI that I didn't quite click right away was AI. And I don't know if we call it slop when it kind of is trying to trick you, because I saw someone smashing a Cybertruck and I did stay for that. I'm like, what? Oh, wait, why does it look like it's chocolate all of a sudden? And so I'm worried. I'm like, oh, well, I better swipe away. But no, I watched it twice, and then I wanted to send to someone, and because I wanted to teach them, hey, look at this AI, how good it's getting, but it kind of fell apart at the end. Like I'm studying it, like I need to, for my own survival, I need to study what the machines are doing.
And now you're going to get the almost real AI slop. Like you're
Yeah.
going to get the, oh my goodness, was that AI slop? And I'm getting the like way over the top slop. I got one where like this, a woman was tossing a child into the sea, and then the child was rode on the back of a turtle, and then came to land, and then they all danced and were happy because of the child. And it was like, and then people were commenting like, this is very moving. Like, I don't even know if like the comments are all AI.
No.
Yeah, I can't, like, whenever I look at any reels, I feel like I've gone down into the cave of no return. And the other thing is that this is already a big problem with Facebook, which is where it's like the breakfast cereal that like used to have more marshmallows in it. Like, I feel like I'm getting like 2 scoops of slop for every like scoop of other stuff, because you're getting like 1 post from a friend, then you're getting 1 ad, and then you're getting 1 garbage post, which is usually also a slop post.
Yeah.
And then you might be getting 1 more of that, and you're still getting the AI slop reel. So it's like slop, 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 slop. Oh, someone just got married. And then it's like slop, slop, ad, slop, slop, slop. So it's going to be like slop, 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 slop. Hey, how are you doing? I'm having a book reading. And then I'm like, I can't, like, it's too much. It's like slop with a hint of raisins. I can't. How do I get out of this?
You go to LinkedIn.
Yeah, you go to LinkedIn.
That's what
You
I'm
get
really
out of
gonna go to
Facebook.
LinkedIn now.
You go to LinkedIn. I like Blue Sky.
Okay, if it's everywhere and it's entertaining people,
Yeah.
are people now perhaps seeking it out and looking for slop as an aesthetic, as something to pass the time?
I think so. I think, well, I have a weird futurist, surrealist, Dadaist vibe. Like that's very much a part of me. Like I love weird stuff. Love Tim and Eric. I think good slop comedy, sure, that could be a whole thing. And I do think that there are really good things that are being done that are interesting. And I think that this style, much like, again, like, I mean, if you've never seen the Tim and Eric show or things that have spun off from it, you know, they were riffing on like late night access TV shows and like crappy old VHS tapes
Right.
and aesthetics that you then riff on. So I think that we are entering this period where there's so much of a style, but we're seeing like the bad stuff. We're seeing like the crap that's going to inspire the good stuff, probably. But this isn't the good stuff. This is like, this is not.
It's not the good place.
No, this is the raw slop, you know. And I want refined. I want the artists to work with the slop and find a way to elevate the slop with art. You could find, because it's true. Art is I believe in this. This is like where intelligent editing and framing to ideas is what makes interesting work. And so we're in an era of like easy tools, easy slop, easy crap, easy effects. And I think it's where the art of shaping that and evolving that needs to really catch up, because we're just seeing a lot of people vomit. We're seeing a lot of vomit everywhere.
Oh, it's brilliant to be discussing this as like the early days of slop. It's like making me think of we're in the early days of the Ooga Chugga baby of
What?
the internet. The Ooga Chugga. Ooga Chugga. Ally McBeal.
Is it Ally McBeal?
Yes.
Okay, I was about to say Ally McBeal.
That
Okay, yeah.
was- I didn't watch it on there. I mean, on the internet, there was the Ooga Chugga.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that was the early days of like weird internet humor. Maybe slop is just our weird way of coping with all this change. The
Yeah.
change we talked about at the beginning of the episode is being coped with by people just like flooding it with junk that is crazy and absurdist.
We are. And like, let the absurdity flow for sure, especially for art, but shape it. But you're not getting slop on your thing as much. I don't know how much of a slop bubble I'm in.
I think you're in a bigger slop bubble than me. I'm also not on Facebook, and
Yeah.
I'm choosing not to really be on Instagram that much. So yeah, I think it's very prominently there. And I don't know if Zuckerberg and friends really care to clean it up if it is causing so much engagement.
Right. And they're probably like, Scott, look, he's engaging with it. This guy loves this stuff. So just keep that little bubble around him. But that is the thing. It's like, we're also in that era where I don't know I never quite know if the reality I'm experiencing is representative of your reality online in terms of all the stuff that's been like circulating and
How many people are in a slop bubble? Let us know. Are you in a
yeah.
slop bubble?
Also people eating really weird stuff. But
Oh.
you know, that's the other things. I mean, a lot of people eating like worms and fruits from,
So,
yeah.
so this takes us to our next topic, which is interesting because you talk about watching a fake reality, but actually there are real places that are kind of warping reality that aren't slop. You just did a whole article on Meow Wolf. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so speaking of artists that work with interesting psychedelic stuff and shape it, we both have been to Meow Wolf installations, and I fell in love with this group like probably later than a lot of people because I finally got to go check it out a couple of years
You
ago.
have to explain about Meow
Yeah,
Wolf is.
what is a Meow Wolf? Meow Wolf is a art collective that also does like these entertainment art spaces that feel like a psychedelic Sleep No More. If you've ever seen Sleep No More in New York or these immersive theater things, or it's a bit like Disney or an Instagram exhibit, but everything is like flowing all over the place, a lot of trippy rooms and things you interact with and games you play.
It's like a choose your own adventure, but you're in an art piece that has many rooms. And the more you read and interact with, the more you uncover about a story, or you can just enjoy it, or you can really get into it. But it is its own theme and weirdness and art.
Yeah, and one is in like a surreal convenience store with like interdimensional objects, and then you pass through into this space beyond. One's like a interdimensional transit hub. The original one is this house that kind of melts as you go into it, not to spoil anything. You kind of go through these other worlds. And so they're all on the West Coast for the most part, or the Western US, and they announced a New York one.
Exciting.
Which, you know, we live in New York. So I'm like, finally, I've been waiting for this. But I also really love them because they work with inputs all over the place that are chaotic and improvisational because they work with a lot of different artists. And so it's kind of like a maximalist style. And it is in a sense, if you were to walk through the space and you were to think in your mind something like the world that AI Slop is feeding off of, Meow Wolf kind of celebrates that, you know, where it's like, you know, everything doesn't make sense or everything's strange, and they are elevating it. They're doing
And there's
interesting
a story of inside.
stories. There's a world, there are characters, there's stuff to dig into. And so the New York one is going to be like video game, like it sounds like it's made for me, basically. It's the Scott space. It's like
They made
video
it just for you.
Yeah, they made one just for me. That's going to have video games and apparently a big focus on mixed reality or the future of mixed reality. So kind of like there are already arcade spaces at the others, but it's going to be years and years away. So, but I think it ties into thoughts we both had about the evolution of theme parks and interactive spaces in general. Whether it's like Disney or like Epic Universe that's opening in Orlando, or things that are trying to make more immersion and possibly work with technology. But a lot of the Meow Wolf stuff feels like indie, indie fringe theater meets like art gallery meets like Disney.
I've always been curious on like how to make this succeed because it is so refreshing in a world where we're all just kind of staring at our screens. When I was reading your story, like this idea of almost a living video game, and it reminded me of what it was like to experience Disney's Star Wars hotel, the Galactic Starcruiser, because everyone called it the hotel, but I got a chance to go for the press preview, and that was no, you were living a video game. I was interacting with things and changing my experience the more I did. And so if we are seeing more installations like this, you know, how will people respond? You know, I hope people are into being interactive with their entertainment and using tech to kind of change and warp reality a little bit or make you think differently, because so much of what we consume is very passive.
Yeah. And then what is that interactiveness? How annoying or interesting is it? Like, how much do you want to use it? So I think once you introduce, it's like immersive theater and all those things like the hotel at the Starcruiser, there's an interesting game that goes in there, which is that sometimes you feel like you want to get super involved and other times you want to chill and let things come to you. And that's the nature of like everything that's interactive. That's what these spaces are figuring out. Because I think what's interesting about a Meow Wolf to me was that it had some understanding of like, if you wanted to go full in and like get into your, like, I'm going to dig around drawers and
Oh yeah, I
solve the
was
scavenger
calling,
hunt.
I was trying to call random numbers. I was trying
Yeah.
to go through files and like understand what happened in this mystery.
Could beat
And
it
some people just
apart.
walk through and they're like, okay, I'm done.
Right. Some people are like, I'm just going to go to take some photos. And some people are actually just relaxing or on a date or something. They're just like in like one chill room, and they just are there to kind of find, like it's in the one in Vegas, to find like your own peace in the madness. And so I like that it acknowledges all those things. And I guess like theme parks do that too.
But then the
But
Starcruiser kind of failed for some people who didn't want to be that involved. It was expensive. That's a whole other
right.
thing. But then, right, like with Sleep No More, for those who aren't familiar, that was a immersive theater where like you walk around and it's kind of like, was it Hamlet?
It was, yeah, it was
Macbeth. Sorry,
Macbeth. Yeah, it was Macbeth. And then you go through this 5-level hotel, and the performances were happening in different rooms, which you could follow and trace them, or you could go on a scavenger hunt to just go through drawers, everything you could open up and look at, or you could just, I mean, you could also, at the time I went, you could spend as much time as you wanted. So sometimes I just like sat in a corner and just kind of looked at the walls, and you're wearing a mask, so nobody, you know, you can just kind of be in your own space. And there's that flexibility.
But if you don't participate, you're getting less out of it. And that's
Right.
what it comes down to. Will these businesses take on this risk to make it so interactive if people aren't going to participate? And I hope people do, because it is such an interesting thing. And this year is going to be extra interesting because Universal is going to be opening the new Epic Universe theme park. So that is very themed out. I'm wondering what folks are thinking about immersive spaces right now. So send in your comments and questions. You know, are you someone who likes a lot of tech in your entertainment when you're going somewhere? I mean,
Yeah.
we already have VR at home. Do you want VR in the theme park?
Or do you want none of it? Do you want something that's going to remove you from your phone, and then you can just have your own little, you know, meditative journey without that?
Yeah, so let us know, and let us know what you think of the other topics in our therapy session today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time when we have more to vent about.
By the way, my mom liked the show.